All right, hello and welcome to the fifth episode of the Stack podcast. My name's Jeroen. I'm here with Mikhil, and today we're welcoming Hakan from BEVM. Welcome, Hakan. How are you today? Could you please maybe start by introducing yourself and giving us a little overview of who you are and like what you do?
All right. Thank you, thank you, and thank you, Miko, for inviting me. You guys are doing pretty good job with Stack Podcast. I've been following you for a while. I think in terms of creating awareness in the space, that it's something that I think we need, and regular users who are enthusiasts about both Bitcoin ecosystem as well as the blockchain space. I think creation of this content really matters. So that's why I just wanted to contribute by joining you. So thanks for the invitation once more. My name is Hakan. I am one of the co-founders of BVM, which is an EVM compatible Bitcoin layer 2. It's been 2 months since we launched the mainnet. So currently it's going pretty well. Happy to see the hype back on Bitcoin finally. And recently we have started to hear more about Bitcoin ecosystem, different token standards like BRC20, runes. I think together with the debut of runes, ordinals, and BRC20s and so on, we had seen again the hype, basically different communities joining us here, being part of the ecosystem, builders. Developers, and that's actually making us super happy, and that's the main motivation. So when it comes to let me first start with about BVM. So actually, we're not here with the hype. It dates back to 2018 when we first launched one of the earliest Bitcoin layer two called ChainX. And at the peak time, I think in 2 years, in 2020, we hit 100,000 pieces Bitcoin on chain being transacted and deposited. That was a huge success for us. But because of the regulations back in China. I actually have been living in China for almost 10 years. So we basically had to stop the bridge and basically took a break for a while. And then together with the Tapper upgrade back in 2021, we launched BVM, and it's been again 2 months since we launched the mainnet. So little background about myself, why like maybe about my journey. I think it dates back to like 2016 and 17 when I was doing export and import, like trading, basically traditional business. But I was having super good difficulties and basically making like payments, sending my own money from my own pocket to another account of my own. I was back in China, remember it very clearly. Back to Turkey, my own country. So it took like 2 3 weeks to do that. I mean, it was my own money, and I'm sending my own money to another account of my own. But it just, was quite disturbing, and it costed me a lot. The banks basically were asking me to come and write reasons why I'm doing that. So it just sounded and felt a little bit weird, and I just wanted to see, other alternatives if there are any. And I deep dive, and actually I was hearing about Bitcoin before, but I was not super interested in. Then I read the white paper. At that time there was not much content, just like you do, no podcast at all. So now for any users who are enthusiasts and for learning, it's super easy to have an access any data that they want, any information. So but at that time I had to first go through the white paper. I didn't have any people around me basically investing in that. It took like a little while to understand it. It was not easy, so because I'm not exactly coming from a tech background. But then having met it, so I started investing it, started to use it, and it just felt some, I don't know, like was like a very good innovation, a breakthrough for me. And then I started doing projects since 2000, at the end of 2017. I've been in the space building different projects. I had a chance to co-found a few platforms, and together with other friends now building BVM. Yeah, that's a very short info about myself.
Did you finally get to transfer your money to your own account eventually?
I did, but again, it took me like 2, 3 weeks, and I had to go 2 times, if I'm not mistaken. I was back in Beijing, so they asked me to come and write down one by one, but I didn't know what to write. Okay, I'm sending it for any purpose, doesn't matter. Like it belongs to me, right? Why I should explain it? But they're the like centralized authority. Uh, I mean, making a decision, so you don't have right to say. So that's why I'm more like a huge backer and supporter of decentralization. That's one of the reasons why I co-founded that DAO platform. I've been part of many different DAOs in the space. I even co-founded together with other colleagues VC that is basically operating in the form of DAO, where any basically users enthusiasts can do investment at an at an early stage using VC identity, using ID. So uh, I am actually like absolutely against those centralization. I had a lot of like difficulties. Just payment is just one of them, and really happy to kind of meet blockchain through Bitcoin because it's the main pillar of blockchain. This is how we all got to know somehow. So here, just a big thanks to Satoshi.
Nice, nice. That's pretty interesting.
So basically, I mean, you came originally through payments, but it seems like you realized you wanted to do a lot more than just kind of working on solutions for that. Like, seems like you're a builder at heart. Seems like you're kind of an entrepreneur at heart. Like, seems like you've created a lot of different things, a lot of platforms, as you mentioned, like even projects like ChainX. Very curious actually to hear a bit more about ChainX. Like, I didn't hear about this before, so can you please elaborate a little bit more, like what you did back then?
Sure. Again, like having met Bitcoin itself, I started to invest in a small amount, and then try to learn it by experiencing it, right, on different platforms, basically like doing some transactions. And at that time, if you remember, any projects who wanted to raise in the space, basically like fundraising. I'm talking about fundraising, or need investment, do kind of mining, every like most of the people had to first go and visit China to somehow secure and meet those Bitcoin whales, miners. Basically, like China at that time was kind of hub for Bitcoin mining and investment. So, and I had a chance to basically meet those people in person. Both, I mean, Bitcoin whales, miners, they're doing like this on a daily basis. And then I've seen this basically, okay, like you're using it in payments, but is it possible to do like more than that, just like Ethereum suggested at that time? But it was, I mean, we didn't have DeFi at that time. It was just only ICOs and etc. So we basically launched ChainX. It wasn't compatible a Bitcoin layer 2. So far it's still online, but again we had to stop the bridge somehow because of the regulations. There's a sub team managing the project, but now what we do is mostly like only BEVM. Our main focus here. We've got the hype, we've got the support from communities, and we're just trying to create new ways to make Bitcoin fun again, and somehow increase the usability. It's not only like a story or narrative, but we want to put something that a product where users can get into engage into any DeFi activities that they want, just like on Ethereum, right? You have Lido, where you stake and have yield on your asset, and we do the same. We have equivalent Lido, Bido on our chain, but we're keeping the asset on Bitcoin network, whereas the actions and all this activities happening on layer two. So basically, scaling it's a scalability solution, and we've seen a huge hype. I mean, over the past a year and a half, I think I've just checked a website. I think L2 Watch. Like there are over 100 plus, right? 100 plus L2s came out, and this is only those are only prominent ones. When it comes to those that are on a stealth mode, which I personally know, there are a lot of friends of mine. They're building, and I go to different events worldwide, and have chances basically to meet those people. Like they haven't still announced that. Basically, they're coming, and it's satisfying because I don't think there's going to be one winner in the space. There should be a competition. There should be different approaches. and I see most of the people they either using like just like us based on Taproot or BitVM. We see like the approach that stacks have. It's really good to see this basically growing ecosystem and kind of attracting people and new users.
By the way, Yaron, before you go ahead, I do remember seeing ChainX. I even have some ChainX tokens. I think I bought it on MEXC or something back in the day,
Oh, you
2020, if
did?
I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah, so I was
Great,
Wow.
I
great,
was just
great.
checking my my account to see if I still have it. I still have it.
You
It's
still have
worthless
it?
now, but yeah, I still do. But
It was actually listed. It was listed on KuCoin Gate and Mexi. You're right. I mean, that's
yeah,
pretty.
yeah.
It's good. I mean, good to have such a
Impressive.
coincidence.
Well,
Because I
I
was
think
doing a lot of research on peers chains and like just chains in general at that time. I Because staking was pretty new at the time, right? Like, so when I
Yeah,
started
yeah.
looking at different chains, ChainX would come up. I think it had decent hype back in the day. I remember now. So when you said ChainX, I looked at the logo, and the logo reminded me, oh shit, I've seen this. So I have to.
Our main advantage to basically get being close to those Bitcoin whales and miners. They again gave them an opportunity to kind of do staking using their Bitcoin. And yeah, we had the hype with like in 2 3 years, but then now currently doing the same thing and even more with BEVM, where you can really build on the top of Bitcoin. I mean, using some of the technical elements that were introduced, by Taproot back in 2021.
keeps on amazing me how much how much Mikhail knows and how many projects and things he's actually tried out. It's incredible. I wonder where he finds the time, honestly.
Not anymore.
Um,
Not anymore.
but
And it was back in the
it's
day
A good,
when we had
a
more
good
time.
researcher.
absolute,
Yeah.
absolute, and much more. But what I remember, what like sticks to me is like make Bitcoin fun again. I like that tagline. Absolutely. Besides making it fun, like what else does make BEVM different? I think that's an interesting question. Given that there's like hundreds of L2s there, like what makes it truly different, and maybe where did you get this idea from? Like what sparked the idea truly?
Again, like as a whole team, we basically have the same tech team that built ChainX at that time, like already how many years? 5 6 years. And then using that experience, we have basically tested out a few approaches. Then finally found out there's basically the current mechanism, what we call Taproot consensus. That's actually combination. You can consider it as a combination of technical elements that were introduced by Taproot. So we put them, we design them, put them together, and design in a way that all this basically process is happening in a decentralized manner without relying on the third party. Basically, like I would just to give an example. So what it is about. So imagine yourself a kind of either Bitcoin holder, Rune, or Bitcoin relevant asset holder. You're depositing your asset in the Taproot address, which is protected by 1,000 custodians. In the past, it used to be only about 15 people multi-sig. We, together with Taproot, we could increase it up to 1,000 people. We don't have 1,000 custodians yet, though, because it's been 2 months and we are our TGE hasn't happened even yet. But currently, again, we're talking to like Bitmain, which is our main backer, the largest BTC player, exchanges like Binance, OKX, and different tier one, tier two exchanges to and also as well as other BTC player to come and become our custodians and validators. On Bitcoin network side, there is 1,000 custodians, whereas there is on the BVM side there's 1,000 validators, which are the same people, but we're requiring those custodians to stake their BTC tokens to become validators. And so when you want to bridge from Bitcoin network to BTC L2, in this case, it's us, BVM. We're using Schnorr's signature aggregator, basically, which aggregates all those signatures, put into one block, saving you gas, saving you time. And so basically, we do that way. And when you do the other way around, we're using what we call like basically must, Merkleized tree. It's like to simply just talk about what it does is it just automatically signs the transactions. Because what happened in the past, we have actually seen a few Bitcoin L2s. Actually, have tested out. I just don't want to name it. During like a few holidays, in particular Chinese Asian ones, Chinese holidays, we had to wait 30 to 70 hours for transactions to get verified and happen, because most of the custodians, developers were on vacation. So it was not definitely not a good experience from a user side. So that's why we're to refrain, from this happening, to solve this problem. We're using Must, which automatically signs, and basically once you get two-thirds of the approvals, you bridge back to Bitcoin. So all this basically things happening in a decentralized manner without relying on third party. That's what we call taproot consensus. Again, like we combine a few elements, put them together, and call it taproot consensus. So when it comes to like any other narratives that like business strategies we have, which we think we differ from other L2s, we onboarded the largest BTC player. I mean, those people are sitting on the top of a million plus Bitcoins. I'm talking about like Bitmain, Antpool, Bifufu, all the sub companies working together with them, and they're like all this machine production company, right? I mean, they're the largest mining service provider, and currently, I would say 80% of the market share is actually belong to those companies, and we're the only one they invested. We're utilizing this kind of um, converted them in a kind of partnership where both sides, how to say, benefit from one another's advantages. What I'm talking about is we're uh, tokenizing their hash rate on a daily basis. Those companies produce a Bitcoin hash rate on a daily basis. That's a huge amount. On a yearly basis, we made the calculation. It's around like 15 to $20 billion aggregated basically hash rate revenue. So by tokenizing it, we both provide those miners kind of cash flow for their daily operations, and at the same time, retail users just like me, you, will be able to get engaged into any DeFi activities using those RWA tokens, basically tokens that are direct representation of Bitcoin itself. You can stake, you can borrow against, do any DeFi activities possible on Ethereum now. Basically, are possible on BVM. So everything is happening on BVM. You can consider BVM as a kind of uh, uh, hash rate distribution platform. It's a separate application we're building together with the Bitmain team, and probably in 2 weeks it will be launched. And you guys also can participate. I think it's a good experience to have a stable income in Bitcoin.
So do I get that correctly that I can actually buy some tokens that represent some hash rate, and because I own a small amount of hash rate, like whatever, I actually get some revenue in BTC that is what streamed to that token, or I can claim that like as a staking reward or something, or how exactly does that work?
Yes, correct to a certain extent. So basically, those tokens will be on that separate application on BVM. So where you can buy, let's say, let's consider this an NFT. Each NFT basically has a different amount of hash rate power for different times. Let's say 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, a month, and then once you buy it, you keep it, you stake it, and then you get your reward in Bitcoin. And then using this Bitcoin, you do any other activities on on our some of the ecosystem projects, just like Bido. Current API is around like 100%. So I think that is a very good amount. And then there are other like DEXs, lending and borrowing, basically applications on BVM. You can also using this revenue do all these activities.
That's awesome. I mean, starting to think about like a whole world of possibilities that opens up because of that. I'm sure you have a few in mind as well. Well,
Mikhil is smiling. I think Mikhil is now trying to design how he can,
No, not at
put
all.
himself in this, right?
No, I was
Any DeFi
I'm
activities
actually
basically kind of attracts him.
I'm actually very curious to see, how this real world asset tokenization plays out, because it's a very unique way to do things. I've not seen anybody tokenize I mean, a lot of people tried tokenizing hash rate back in the day, right? But that never like converted into anything real at any point, right? Because you couldn't do much with the tokenized hash rate. But what if you could actually use that tokenized hash rate, not just the rewards to do more and more things, right? Then it becomes a very interesting place. So I was thinking, like, can that be used to as part of restaking, for example? Like, I don't know.
It
Again,
yeah it can be, yeah, it can be. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of opening a door to all these possibilities. That's actually what makes us very excited. Um, it's like endless, basically possibilities and opportunities with that. Yeah, there are some projects. There are a lot of projects actually kind of trying to tokenize or already tokenize hash rate. Because they invest in, and we're talking to a few projects who are interested in what we do. And they can use our platform. At the end of the day, we're not an application. We are just a public chain, Bitcoin L2. We are providing this infrastructure and welcoming all these applications to come and protocols to come and deploy on BEVM, and we support in any way we can. So for this particular product, we're working with Bitmain team. But there are other projects who already either tokenized, they are on Bitcoin Hash Rate, like they have. We're talking to. We were just in a conference in Las Vegas, organized by Bitmain, basically gathered all this worldwide famous and largest miners together in a conference. We had a chance to talk to those miners in person and see whether they're interested in. They're super interested in. They basically invested already. They had a huge amount of hash rate on a daily basis. They want to see other alternatives to create like cash flow. It's not only like the hash rate of those big companies, but also there are other companies on a skiller, like a smaller scale, which are traditional companies, not Web3. But they kind of, having seen that, uh, they they like basically asking more questions, and we see their interest in that. So hopefully we're going to be doing this for other, um, like expanding it to other mining companies and projects as well. And we deployed, just not to skip this one, we deployed $10 million worth of fund to support those relevant, basically, founders, builders, who can basically come and build like similar products, protocols to deploy on BEVM. Again, anything relevant to Bitcoin hash rate tokenization, whether you're a builder, founder, or I don't know, the supporter from marketing wise, we're ready to support. Basically, again, we allocated that huge fund for that.
yeah. So just to also maybe, won't talk too much about the Bitcoin hash rate tokenization, but I remember there was this project that got listed on Binance in 2021, I think, that was doing something similar. When you talk about like Bitcoin hash rate tokenization, you could use any tokenized version of a hash rate, not just a particular is there a standard to it, or like anybody can build their own hash rate tokenization protocol, you use that across the BVM ecosystem?
Definitely, yeah. Actually, like we don't have any standard token for that, so anyone can come and build. If you're either hash rate provider or just connecting, or you may have kind of resources or connections with those people, but you're basically going to be building a separate application or protocol doing that. So you can come and apply for that, and we can both financially and technically support you. So that's actually fun,
Got it.
particularly for this. And then other than that, which is kind of relevant to it. Um, so this fund is only for RWA part, like hash rate tokenization. We have launched another campaign, which is a grant campaign, basically to support any projects. There's no limitation, whether it's be like a DeFi project, DeFi protocol, or gaming. RWA doesn't matter. So you can come and apply for our grant program. We allocated $60 million worth of tokens to only support those projects and founders. So I think that's a very good opportunity. We're both welcoming, uh, if you guys are like, if they're on Ethereum or Ethereum relevant, like EVM chain, doesn't matter, or just want to build something new, Bitcoin native protocol, right? We are welcoming innovative approaches as well. So people with good ideas already, or maybe you may have already have a protocol with some amount of users and TVL, then basically it's going to be like based on a case by case evaluation, and you'll be basically awarded with this fund. So I think that's a good opportunity for both people who are interested in tokenization part and general our grant program, which is worth of like $60 million.
One last question on
Sorry,
this
go ahead.
entire topic. Why do you think hash rate tokenization hasn't worked yet? I don't have a view on this, but I think BTCST was the token that I was thinking about. You know, I think it had like a phenomenal rise, but eventually like just died down over time, right? So, what's the one reason why you think it hasn't like gotten that adoption and real utility?
Because most of the projects that they tokenize somehow, they could proceed to a certain extent. Like there were restriction in the market. We The reason why we actually considered doing this from our end, because we again have such big resources, just like Bitmain. Only with their support, basically, we're talking about like billions of dollars worldwide, based on our calculation to get it, because it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first and the most liquid. The basically in terms of trading volume and Bitcoin hash rate, I mean hash rate power, it's definitely number one. But there are other basically asset types like just like um, Litecoin, Dogecoin. They're doing merge mining, and basically they're mining all together. And there are other tokens as well, and we're tokenizing all these assets. It doesn't have to necessarily be Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the on is one of the most important part, but there will be other opportunities as well. So the companies that we're working with, they're holding the majority of the hash rate. So as long as you onboard them, the huge opportunity basically opening. And and other than that, Bitmain is the main liquidity and TVL provider to us. So they, again, like those guys are sitting on the top of huge amount of Bitcoin, one of the largest Bitcoin holders, as well as mining service providers. So they want to have a yield on their assets, which they haven't considered before because of the security issues. Like I would say, for those, I'm not sure if you realized, but those Bitcoin holders have different mentality than the rest of the holders, like token holders, right? Because the only thing they concern is their asset safety, and how you provide it really matters. So it took us 6 months to convince Bitmain and Pool, like they've really literally done 6 months of due diligence to convince to bring their Bitcoin and provide liquidity to BEVM, where they will have a yield on their assets. So this hasn't happened before, and that's a huge move. Once you convince that the largest BTC player, the rest of the Bitcoin holders will be motivated and motivated, and will basically see it will be like sounded by by those people as well. So that's actually one of those two reasons why we're doing this tokenization part, because it's not the tokenization itself, but also DeFi activities that we're opening a door as an L2.
Yeah, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit more towards the BTC Fi or BTC DeFi, like whatever we can call it. Um, we're still very early in this, right? Like I guess you realize that yourself. I guess it's one of the reasons you still have the ability to build something like completely new. If you look at like DeFi around BTC, I think is very limited if you compare it to Ethereum, right? It's I think less than 1% of the value of BTC itself is currently into BTC like DeFi. Even a lot of the BTC L2s, I think there's discussions on whether it's really even L2, right? Like some of them are not even L2s, they're like more side chains, and that's another discussion we can or may or not want to have. Um, but what's your vision on this? Let's say you want to look into the future, like, and then let's say look far ahead in the future. Like both, I think Mikkel and myself, we're always keen to try and think in decades. What's your like decade vision on like BTC, DeFi, and the entire crypto ecosystem? Maybe like will everything kind of converge back to Bitcoin now that you can actually build or will soon be able to do pretty much everything you can do on Ethereum, also on Bitcoin? What's your vision there, like for the next, let's say, 10 years?
I think it's a great question. And I think everyone should think over that question, uh, to understand where we're heading, like the direction that we're going, and the opportunities that we have. So when you look at from let's say Bitcoin security perspective, they're miners, right? And I think based on the calculation, they're like 8 to 10 years of runway for like, I'm talking about the motivation, reward motivation behind for miners. So and then BTC price will go high, but the competition is going to get harder as well, right? So how do you motivate and incentivize those miners to continue to provide basically a security, right, to the network? That's something that we need to consider. For the time being, we don't have problem, but the upcoming 10 years, 20 years, because that game is not for a few years, right? That's a long run. So considering that, I think why Bitcoin ecosystem and projects, Bitcoin L2s became popular over the past a year and a half, it's because mostly because through the protocols, just like runes, ordinals, different token standards, we have proven something. So it was like a few months ago, right after the runes launched, if I'm not mistaken, like on a daily basis, for the first time. The transaction fees basically surpass the mining revenue for miners. That's really important, and because that proven again, that has proven that there are alternative ways to incentivize miners, other than the mining rewards themselves, and that's also like whenever whomever I've talked to, like including miners, they were super happy, and that game though. Some people still say this. Okay, now the hype for runes BRC20 is already gone. I don't think so. So we're just trying to create new gameplays, new use cases, um, and and we need this. We have to somehow achieve. I think at the end of the day, all these Bitcoin L2s that came out either recently or been building just like us for years, they're trying to achieve like a few things, right? I think something in common, bringing liquidity into L2s and making it possible for Bitcoin holders to have a yield on their assets, which were not very possible before. You could do this with like to a certain extent with wrap Bitcoin, but in this case you have to rely on the third party, right? Because there's an institution who is providing it, basically issuing that token. But at the end of the day, it's just wrapped, right? It's not the same case. And then another like statistical data that is kind of attractive to me is that when you look at the ratio between Ethereum ecosystem versus Bitcoin ecosystem. So currently, Ethereum is sitting on the top of, I would say, 400 something $billion, right? I mean, market fluctuates, but that's the average. And ecosystem is over $100 billion. So and is it the same basically for Bitcoin? Definitely not. So Bitcoin is the most liquid, and the network itself is the most secure one, but we're not seeing anything. It's like $1.4 trillion, and it's supposed to be like surpass like 3 4 trillion dollars in the coming years. So what do we have as in like ecosystem? There are no builders. There were no builders in the past. Like there are millions of developers on Ethereum side, EVM chains. So that's really proud. I mean, I'm really proud of that. Seeing different approaches, different protocols being developed. But on the Bitcoin network side, maybe a few hundred now, maybe crossing a few thousand. But it's not enough. We need some native Bitcoin native approaches as well. So why we basically launched an EVM compatible or added EVM compatibility to our chain, because there is a maturity on Ethereum side. Well, saying maturity is relatively mature ecosystem on Ethereum side that been like protocols have been running for almost like 4 or 5 years, whatever. So there are like millions of users back there. So we just want to benefit from this, maturity and also existing ecosystem. We're welcoming all this, but at the same time, we are also incentivizing those Bitcoin native approaches, basically new protocols on top of network. So we're talking to different developers, incentivizing with our funds. Um, I mean, good things are happening, but still we're at the very early stages. Even as a Bitcoin L2, I can say this, it's a kind of still experimental stage. We're still seeing, like testing out whether like it is the right approach, right? As I mentioned before, we're using Taproot consensus mechanism, and someone else is using, some other chains are using like BitVM and trying to connect it with OPCat, just like Starkware basically announced that they're also going to be like soon launching and going to that direction as well, utilizing both BitVM and OPCat. That's really good. I mean, seeing this OGs, already big projects to kind of coming to the space, coming to the Bitcoin ecosystem and building for it, that's a good thing. But in the coming 5 to 10 years, definitely, I mean, in terms of creating alternative incentives and revenue for miners, that's definitely the case. And we cannot stop. We have to create this.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, for Bitcoin, for the sake of Bitcoin security. And at the same time, we need to, like I said, let's make Bitcoin fun again. We're seeing this, a lot of memes are happening. It's a culture, and we're now creating that culture, which other chains had, just like Solana, just like Ethereum, and now we're seeing this on Bitcoin as well. So I mean, super happy to see this, and it's really hard to estimate where it goes. But together with the ETFs, we see institutions getting involved now in terms of big back holders, miners, Bitcoin wells. Now we have institutions, and hopefully we will have enough advantages in our hand and reasons to convince those institutions to come and use their asset and provide liquidity to L2s, right? Where you can utilize this billions of dollars worth of, I think it's like surpassed already 13, 14
Yeah.
billion dollars, right?
Yeah. So
Crazy amount.
Hakan, I mean, it's I think lots of different topics here to break down. Maybe just ma- going back to when you started talking about things, you said the biggest problem that we see in the future is miners don't have enough revenue sources. Miners need an alternative revenue source, which is why you believe that miners will come on chain. They will try to be a part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, try to inject capital into the L2 ecosystem within Bitcoin. And then the reason why you want to build an EVM chain is because you can tap into the the developer base that Ethereum has already built, which I think is a very strategic and smart move, right? Because I think it's super clear that people prefer building EVM based applications. So I think it makes a lot of sense for you to do that, and others as well. So a few elements. One is the capital side comes from miners who want to generate more capital. So they inject capital into the BTCL2 ecosystem where you have developers from the EVM ecosystem come in and build stuff. Now, my question is, because a lot of people have talked about this alternative mining, alternative source of revenue for miners. I'm not sure how much revenue we can actually generate. I'm trying to find this data. I haven't checked it yet, but how much real yield does Ethereum generate from all the DeFi activity that happens on the Ethereum network, right? Like, because the ETH, I think market cap is 430, 450 bill. ETH TVL for DeFi is about 100 bill. How much of revenue does that really generate for ETH stakers? And not the staking yield through inflation, but purely from the revenue generated on the
You
chain
mean
through
you mean
transactions.
Bitcoin as a whole network? Like how much do I think like the all
Yeah,
runes and
because
ordinals create?
yeah, because I think with ETH as well, I'm not sure of the number, but let's say ETH staking APR is 4.5%. I'm not sure about this number. I haven't checked recently. Let's say three. How much of this staking APR comes from actual activity on the Ethereum network and not through inflationary yields, right? Because I'm guessing whatever rewards come from MEV are significant. So MEV takes up, some blocks are like great for stakers, some blocks are not. But I'm not sure how much, like, if it's 1%, is that good enough for miners? Because with miners we have,
Hmm.
because to get to that stage, BTC L2 TVL needs to be around what? Around 400 to 400 500 bill, and then you can compare that to ETH DeFi. If ETH DeFi and BTC DeFi remains exactly similar in terms of the activity that happens on the chain, so I'm not fully
Absolutely.
convinced
That's
that
why like we
this
don't we
plays
don't.
out. Yeah, go ahead.
Hmm. Hmm. No, no, yeah. I was just saying this. Definitely, that you see, you yourself just mentioned the huge gap between Ethereum market cap versus Ethereum market cap, and then Ethereum ecosystem, the ecosystem that it basically created on the top of it, versus Bitcoin and nothing, basically maybe a few billion dollars. So we were if you do like the calculation, the ratio, it's supposed to be like, if it's similar to anyhow similar to Ethereum DeFi, it should definitely surpass 200 $300 billion worth of ecosystem. So it just, how many times from basically now, there's a huge growth potential. That's actually one of the exciting and incentive, I mean, motivative part for us, because there's a huge long run, and where I think everyone both can utilize and can make money, right? If you're a builder, if you're a miner, doesn't matter who, what background you have, but here's an opportunity. So I don't have exact statistical data, but when I remember when I checked the runes ordinals, the oldest creation, um, was it on a daily or a few $10 million, like I think on a daily basis they have done for the first time surpassing the mining revenue. But and I had the actually numbers for ordinals as well, and a few other tokens that kind of generated revenue. And also I had checked before, but I don't have it now. I didn't actually prepare that, otherwise I was share with you. We just made an infographic where we put all these numbers like as L2s, how much contribution we make to those miners, basically generating this revenue, as well as those Bitcoin native assets, just like runes and ordinals that are built on the top of Bitcoin. So it was actually quite intensivizing. Uh, but again, we have ups and downs. We are still kind of haven't created this enough big communities and good enough hype. We had some for a while, so we need to continue building and create alternative scenarios and how to say use cases. Again, we just have proven with those assets, in particular together with Rune, using the Taproot tech. So it's still, I mean, promising, but definitely, like, if your question is whether it is enough or not, I don't think it's enough. So that's why we have a long way to go.
And in this long way that we have to go, what do you what is the plan actually for BVM? Curious to hear, and then maybe we can kind of soon conclude on that as well, because I'm just very curious to hear what's next. Like, you guys obviously have done a lot already. You got your mainnet live for 2 months, but that's, I mean, just a small time frame compared to what's coming. Like, what's in the future for you guys? What's ahead for BVM, and like any opportunities maybe for any of our listeners or any builders, or any crypto enthusiasts outside of the opportunities you already mentioned, like the 10 and the $60 million incentive fund for building. Curious to hear.
There are definitely opportunities for both developers, community members who want to kind of become part of a solid and promising community. And we have basically converted our community into DAO, called BVM DAO. We allocated 3% of our total token supply to community members, and it's going to be like similar to what Arbitrum did. And I think it was pretty good. So the more you get engaged with the platform, you contribute, like based on the task that you basically complete, the more airdrop opportunities that you will have. We want to like make it fair and then support any way that we can. I mean, any contribution is welcome. You can come and basically um, give us some feedbacks. That's a big contribution. You can come and introduce us projects, or if you're yourself a project, we can also like be will be definitely rewarded and supported anyway, by BVM as it can. So we have three business strategies. The first one is what we call BVM stack. Basically, anyone using Solidity will be able to um, build on the top of EVM, right? It's EVM compatible. And at the same time, we're talking with a few exchanges, tier two, three exchanges. They're interested in using their own L2 Bitcoin L2. We are providing infrastructure, so for those basic exchanges, they will be at the end using our infrastructure. Infrastructure, they will be having their own Bitcoin L2. That's the first one. The second one is what we call basically BTC to EVM. So it's I've talked about wrap Bitcoin, so it's centralized, and the market cap is huge, right? Already, like, it was $8 something billion. Now maybe it dropped and increased. Doesn't matter, but it's a huge market cap. So we want to make it in a decentralized manner. Basically, you'll be able to bridge your Bitcoin from Bitcoin network to BVM, and then from BVM to any other like chains that you're interested in, like Arbitrum, Aptos, doesn't matter, like Ethereum, and then do any DeFi activities possible on other chains as well, not only BVM. And the third and most important part, and one of the main focuses now, what we have just already covered, tokenization of hash rate of miners, and those people who have kind of Bitcoin machines, like producing hash rate on a daily basis. That's a big market. Aggregated amount is $20 billion, together with Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, etc. So I'm talking about merge mining as well. So I think this alone will open a door for anyone who both want to have a stable income without dealing with some machinery things, you don't have to know the maintenance of those machines, right, or have the facility. But by only holding this token or NFT, you'll both generate a revenue on a on a regular basis, and at the same time, it will not stay idle in your wallet. You will be using this revenue in any protocols you're interested in on BVM. So these are the things that we're working on. BVM DAO already supporting with 3% of our token supply with that. You're welcome to use. We're collaborating with Galaxy, Zilly platforms, where as long as you achieve some of those, or let's say complete some of the tasks, easy ones. As long like just we need engagement and contribution from user side. As long as you do that, you get XP points based on which you will get airdrops. And the second one is $60 million worth of grant program where we are supporting both Bitcoin native protocols, basically projects, and uh, those already existing projects on other chains to come and build and deploy on BVM side as well. So this 60 million will be used here, and you're welcome to basically reach out and apply for that. It's still ongoing. And the third one is $10 million worth of fund to support this RWA, basically the tokenization of RWA hash rate part. If you're a developer, builder enthusiast who want to be part of that, you're welcome to again come and apply. You can contact us through Discord, Twitter, or I'm not sure if you're going to be dropping the links on YouTube, but that will be great if you can. So you can basically anyone is welcome to reach out, and even if there's no possibility, we're going to create a possibility for that. We're welcoming any enthusiast people.
Absolutely. I was gonna ask you where can people find you. We'll put the links in the description for the recording. But yeah, I think this has been a very informative uh, podcast. I learned quite a bit about Bitcoin hash rate, tokenization, and BVM. Very exciting to talk about. How miners could make revenue through alternative sources and the core reason for why people are building on Bitcoin today. So definitely looking forward to BEVM doing more and more exciting things, and I'm personally like very excited about this after this conversation. So yeah, if you can share where people can follow you, Hakan, you and BEVM, you can just mention here very briefly, and some of our listeners will take a look at this and reach out to you accordingly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, like BVM page is the first one, and we have a very big Discord community, and we're quite active. We do organize a lot of events, and you can ask your questions in those AMA sessions. We do have Twitter Space events. You can come and become part of this. We do this with different. Each week is different topics, and I think it's a very good opportunity to learn, just like this podcast content. So we're basically trying to create awareness, just like you do. I think it's very important. So if you guys want to personally reach out me, so you can find me on Twitter as well, with the name that written here, Hakan underscore says Sezikli, so which is my surname. So I'm basically happy to help anyone who's interested in becoming part of the community or the action that we're basically doing, the target that we're trying to achieve. So yeah, happy to chat with any people interested in.
Thank you, Hakan. It was great having you. Jaren, if you have any final points, we can wrap this up.
No, man, I'm just very excited about this. I think it's super cool to see what you guys are doing. I learned a lot as well. Like, I mean, one thing you didn't mention, Mikhail, but I learned about is like the taproot root consensus. I think that's super interesting. Keep building, guys. Keep bringing awareness. Super exciting to see this, and glad to continue to follow you guys on your journey and wish you all the best. And I'm sure we'll catch up very soon. Thanks again, Hakan, for joining us, and we'll see you around, I'm sure.
Big thanks to both of you for the invitation and making it happen. And I think I'll also do my best to contribute any way I can. You also keep creating such, very valuable content in the space. I think through this podcast, Twitter Space events, AMAs, people who are new to the space, newbies, there are a lot, by the way. They're just using like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of time. They can understand and get huge amount of valuable information. So that's, I think, a big thanks there basically should go to you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Our
Thanks a
pleasure.
lot, man.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
the
much.
kind words. Bye.
All the
Thank
best. See
you.
you soon. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.